I am extremely excited. I get the honor of introducing Vinay Samuel. He's the CEO of Zetaris, and he has about 20 years of experience in IT, business development, operations, and IT startups. Zetaris is an analytical data virtualization platform for self-service BI, AI mesh, SQL, data analytics, and big data visualization. Today, Vinay is talking about the sixth force, data-driven competitive advantage. I actually had to Google what the forces were, so I'm sure Vinay will tell you all about it, but there are 5 forces. He's added the sixth force. I think it completely makes sense even before I brought Vinay up. Vinay, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you here. You're on mute, Vinay. First, I get to say it first. I knew we
There you go. You beat me to it. Hi, Kate. How are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. Super excited to be on here, and congratulations. It's already an absolute hit, so well done.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Where are you joining us from today? I know
I'm actually in Palo Alto.
Palo Alto,
so,
okay.
Yeah. In our Palo Alto branch, we're setting up our American business over the last few months and into next year. So
yes.
It's great. We're
super For those not familiar, Vinay, you're from Australia, right? You're expanding in the US.
Yeah. Totally
awesome.
are. So we're on a mission to bring decentralized data platforms and this idea of analytical data virtualization to life across the globe. Actually, we're looking at the UK and EU next. So exciting times for us.
Awesome. I will let you take the stage. I'll see you in about 10 minutes for some Q&A.
So I need to share, yeah? So
yes, you can go ahead and share whenever you'd like, and I'll put your screen up.
Yep. Let me just...
And in the meantime, I will look at the comments. Dustin says it's not a party until someone's on mute. I agree. That makes it a real...
I meant it, Dustin. You got it.
That makes it a real data party, right?
Yeah, it totally does. So
yes.
I've just uploaded that file. I might just, as we uploading that, I might just kick off a little bit. Look, this topic is very much focused on the business side of data. What I didn't want to do was to give you another product pitch and tell you how amazing Zetaris's product is, which it is, by the way. But what I will do at the end of the conversation is to tie the more strategic aspects of the presentation, or this idea of the sixth force, to tie it back to what we're doing with some customers to help them become a lot more competitive with their data. So let me start by first, level setting everyone in terms of who we are and what we're doing at Zetaris. So our catch cry at Zetaris is that we enable our customers to do instant analytics on any data, anywhere. And the whole idea is that we give our customers the ability to connect data across the network and do what's called analytical data virtualization. So rather than always bringing data into a central model or a data warehouse or data lake, what we say the new way is to actually use virtualization in real time, at query time, to join large tables, large data objects in different places, in multi-clouds, across the network, perhaps on the edge, to get you a single real-time view based on metadata. So that's who we are, and we've been doing that for about 6 years now. We've been really successful, and you'll soon see that part of our success is about helping our customers accelerate in their journey. And this is where, we landed on this thinking around the industry needing to really refocus on competitive advantage and refocus on the real, the why are we doing this, and how does the data project turn the dial in terms of a competitive advantage for my business. So the sixth force you'll soon see is very much Zetaris or myself compelling the industry to start rethinking your data projects, changing your perspective away from the pure technical. Okay, so and also let me say that our most successful customers at Zetaris are the ones that really understand the linkage between what they're doing in the analytics side of the business, what their data scientists are doing, what are the outcomes of their data projects, and linking that back very tightly and very clearly to the way all of that creates competitive advantage in the markets that their organization plays in. So let me just go to the next slide. So, firstly, a disclaimer. Really, this is not meant to be an academic paper, and it's not trying to reshape what Michael Porter brought back in the day in terms of the five forces model. But it's very much us using Michael Porter's five forces model to help our customers and the industry to think about competition, and then to use that as a layer to start to understand how to develop a strategy for data-driven competitive advantage. So we're not presenting a pure model. It's definitely a heuristic approach. So let me start by saying this is an interesting statistic, and it still holds true that whilst organizations across the globe leveraging data programs, bringing in new concepts like data mesh, like the data cloud, and things like that, whilst there's all of this activity going on in terms of innovation in the data space, and customers being focused on creating competitive advantage in their minds, what's actually happening from Gartner research is that 20% of analytical insights actually deliver business value. And so, I was pondering that. I was trying to understand how can that be, and coupling that with another statistic that's been around for a while, in that 80% of data projects fail. I think that's improving. I think we're down to 60% now of data projects failing. I kind of started thinking, what's wrong with the industry? What's happening here? Why are we having high failure rates? And why is the value being stalled to the extent that 20% of the effort we put into analytics and insight creation is actually getting to the front end, is actually driving profit margin, compressing our costs, and helping us be more competitive. And so it begs the question, what's happened to the other 80%? And later in the presentation, I'm going to talk about some of these issues in the context of strategy. But straight up, we see the 20% as being lost in complexity, in technical, the 80% being lost in technical complexity, where organizations and customers trying to deploy data projects become so focused on the actual technical aspects or the data analytics and algorithmic aspects that they actually lose the focus on the ultimate goal, which is to try and create a business opportunity or business value or create money from their data projects. The other thing is that we see data projects becoming irrelevant and not used by the business. And usually that's because the coupling between the business stakeholders, the business strategists, and the data ownership is actually very loose and not tight enough and not close enough. And we call that distance between the business and the technical teams. The other thing is a lot of analytics in organizations, because it's not strategically aligned and it's interesting and it is innovation based, some of it becomes unaddressable. So whilst insight is created that is very interesting, there's nothing that the organization can actually do about it. Ultimately, what we see as the biggest problem in terms of getting business value from analytics insight is the lack of hard integration between the business strategy and all of those activities in the data side of the business that are creating analytical outcomes. So this is where I started thinking about the traditional strategy model, Porter's five forces model, which most of you would have seen if you've done a business course. You'll definitely have seen it. This is something that Michael Porter came up with back in 1979, and it basically is a model for describing how various competitive forces shape competition or shape the nature of an industry. Now, I'm not going to go through and explain the whole model, but what I will say is that if you look across the five forces, so from threat of new entrants, so the idea that an industry is shaped by the extent to which new entrants can actually jump into that industry and take away profitability from other players in the industry. we've seen that the open banking market in the last few years has been an example around how data has enabled that, and access to data has enabled entry into the banking industry like you've never seen before. If you consider the bargaining power of buyers, how more recently the bargaining power has really been something that's very dynamic, depending on the access, again, to data and the ability for the owner of the data to apply various analytical models. A great example is the transparency of price in the airline industry, how lots of apps and the smaller players are using price and price modeling as a way to increase customers' bargaining power with the airlines or with the travel industry. The other force that Porter talks about is this whole threat of substitutes. So, the idea that even though you might think that the coffee industry is just about, who can make the best cup of coffee, well, isn't Red Bull a substitute for having a coffee? And so the threat of substitutes is another thing that affects competitiveness in an industry, and ultimately competitiveness affects profitability and performance in that industry for your organization. In terms of data, we've seen over the last few years how various substitute offerings have come in the form of new apps that create a market, and then suddenly that app is gazumped by a million other apps that mimic it because of the availability of data about that market, the users of the original orchestrator of the market. Calendly is a great example. You've got Doodle, and you've got many other organizations now trying to manage our time and manage our calendar. In terms of bargaining power of suppliers, the whole idea of the strength at which a supplier can dictate price and dictate cost and control the supply chain or the demand chain. We're seeing how that's getting bent and reshaped by the use of data analytics. A good example is Mobileye, which is the company that helps us when we're driving our cars, the software company that actually intervenes if you're going to run into something. Mobileye is a great company, and they've developed or strengthened their bargaining power with their suppliers by providing data back into their ecosystem. And and in the center of the model is this idea of the extent of rivalry and the extent of competition within a market. What we saw with research we've been doing with customers, and also using research from Gartner and also HBR, the Harvard Business Review, we saw that data is really reshaping every aspect of the five forces model in terms of developing a competitive strategy. And data can actually very quickly enable an organization at the task level, moving away from the macro, industry level. At the task level, data can enable a company to change their position and change their posture when it comes to the five forces. And this is why, I put forward that data itself is a sixth force. It's a force that actually runs over the top of the five forces model. And so, hold on, let me just go to the next slide. So what does it all mean, and why is it, why are we going on about this? We're a software company. We sell decentralized data platforms, and we want people to use our platform. Well, let me tell you, the most successful organizations that we deal with, and there's a handful of them that are, that excel in their analytics programs. Their focus is not on the technology. It's on the strategic thinking. It's on trying to work out, my data program, how's it linked to our internal business strategy and our business model? And ultimately, where do I play in the market with the data products I'm building? How are they positioned against the five forces that Michael Porter talked about? And so what we did was we took all of that thinking and the work we were doing with customers from a strategy point of view, and we said to ourselves, why don't we come up with a capability that actually helps our customers score themselves. So really come up with a data competitiveness score. So one of the things I'm announcing today is that Zetaris has two things that we do with customers that are non-technical. One is we help you develop an ROI model for what is the best hybrid architecture to drive the best TCO and your best outcomes in terms of your analytical project. And underpinning that is we help you build a custom scoring system that helps you work out how competitive your business is being with data. So if anyone wants to know more about that, reach out to me. We're not a services company, so we bring that as part of our software engagement to help our customers accelerate in their thinking. And ultimately, if our customers accelerate, so do we. So within our competitiveness scoring model, we've got 30 key questions. I've just put 10 of them up here. And these are the questions, things like, what is the value added from customer data versus the core offering? So if you're selling Red Bull, what's the value of an app that you're putting into the market with the actual physical product? And is it a value that actually is helping you compete better in the market, or what utility is it providing? How does it compare to general forces like network effects and your business model capability? How does it actually compared to your core offering? The other question is, how quickly does the marginal value of data enable learning drop off? So this is a question of speed, right? Is there a perishable issue with your data product outcomes? When you put your products in the market, how long is it valuable? How fast does the relevance of your user data drop off? Is your data proprietary, right? So have you created a proprietary data set that no one else has? And ultimately, is that creating a specific competitive advantage for you? And so on and so forth. So this scoring system is really based on a set of heuristics, some research we've done. It's based on some articles from the Harvard Business Review and some articles from Gartner. Please reach out to us, because for us, that's where the data journey starts. It doesn't start with, do you need a data mesh, or do you need to have a better, unified view of your semantic layer and all of that kind of thing. If you're not starting from the strategic end, you're actually setting yourself up for failure, and the statistics say that. So what does all of that boil down to? Sorry, I just missed a slide. What do those key questions target? And what does it boil down to in terms of what we call our 7 core competitive advantage inhibitors? What we see is, in terms of how the answers to those questions explain themselves, is that usually where data projects fail and value is lost is where there's no strategy. There's no data strategy, but more importantly, there's no linkage of what you're doing to competitive value that's being created in the market or not. There's a technical focus. That's very common when we talk to customers that are struggling. They may be trying to do a migration into Snowflake or into Databricks, or they're trying to consolidate some Teradata systems. Usually when we come into the project, there's so much intensity on the technical issues that they've forgotten the original intent of the project. Lack of tacit knowledge and IP capture. This is something that we hard code in the way our platform works. So any Zetaris users will tell you that Zetaris blends the source view of where the data is and creates a single view, but it also brings the business people's tacit knowledge to the query. And so lack of that coupling of the IP and knowledge about the business to the data is another inhibitor. The next inhibitor is business intermediated by IT or by the data sciences. I always look at where are the business people in the project, and the extent to which they are close to the data will dictate the success of the project and the derivation of value. How slow is the integration method? One thing that's very consistent in the industry, and I'll very quickly cover that in a moment, is we are all hung up on a centralized model. So I can't do analytics unless I bring all the data together. That is over. Technologies like Zetaris enables you to have very fast integration of data, same day integration of a large data set that isn't in the data warehouse. Same day meaning we can connect to, a new data source and compare it to data in the data warehouse in the one query. And so that's another inhibitor, that slow integration. What happens is the business users move on, the requirements change, and the whole project becomes stale. And then lack of trust and lack of single view. We all know about data quality being a problem. I think these days any data platform that doesn't have business rules-based data quality should not be used. Okay, you need data quality. It's meat and potatoes. It's an absolute staple if you purport to have a technology that can help customers. And as I said earlier, this idea of centralization focus being an inhibitor. So that brings us to us, and I promise you I'll just do these next 3 slides really quickly. So the way we help customers, we start with the strategy. We help them understand the competitive advantage posture they want to create with their data according to the forces, the competitive forces that shape markets and drive profitability for their business. So we do have methods to do that. Ultimately, what we do is we show the customers that once you see an opportunity, once you create a strategy, it's all about speed, it's all about accuracy and simplicity. And so we have a very strong belief that centralization of all your data. Now, centralization may be needed, or what I would call re-platforming your data layer may be needed to modernize your data engine and your data capabilities. But this idea that you must have that single physical version of the truth is a real inhibitor to competitive advantage, because it slows you down. You have speed issues, data quality issues, governance issues. All of those things come with moving data all the time. And so that's one of our core beliefs. We see many organizations that look like this. They have a traditional platform approach where their source data is duplicated many, many times through aggregation layers, data pipelines, and files within the pipeline, storage layers, data marts, and then ultimately through cubes or some sort of BI layer. This need to kind of move data all the time is a huge inhibitor to getting a focus on the business issue and the business use case and quickly running to the opportunity in the market. And so what we do at Zetaris is we say all these red arrows represent moving data in your company. Our whole goal is to stop these very big red arrows that ultimately mean that you're not performing your analysis across all your data, high failure rates, data quality problems, and it's not real time. What we do is we take the query to the data. Okay, and so why is that so important a strategy? Well, if you can take the query to the data and if you can instantly connect to it, well, guess what? You can work with your business people in real time to look at your entire data layer, envisage the kind of data products and data outcomes that can address a competitive opportunity that you've seen in terms of the 5 forces that shape your market, right? And so the linkage between business and technology, that linkage between business and the analytics program is enhanced when the technology gets out of the way. You're not having to deal with a massive migration project, or we're building a data lake. Well, do you really need to build a data lake first before you do the analytics? Now, what we enable our customers to do is to get that view, that business case view, that single view, without moving the data, without doing the migration, focus on your business opportunity. And guess what? Whilst you're still analyzing data in a decentralized way, you can move it around from a platform modernization point of view. This is just a little bit about Zetaris. I won't labor this too much, but we've built a end-to-end analytical data virtualization capability. We've used AI to automate things like creating virtual data pipelines, so we deal with the transformation issue. And we've created a platform where business users can self-serve to connect to data where it is, create the views they need, build a virtual data mesh or virtual data lake or warehouse on top of it. So that's the quick Zetaris ad, and that's actually the end of my presentation. Thanks, Kate.
Vinay, you're done.
I am done. I may have taken a little bit longer, but I'm done.
I did not want to cut you off because it was so interesting. And we have, I don't know, like 40, 50 questions that came in.
Wow.
We unfortunately won't have time for many of them, but we will take at least a couple because
Yeah.
I really want to get more into it. Before I go to the audience questions, I had my own question that I had what you were presenting. You had the 20% number up there, and that only, I guess, 20% of data projects lead to business value. And my question to you is, this number looks like it was for 2022. Has this number gone up or has it gone down in the past, let's say, 5 years?
Actually, from the source, there hasn't been new research. So, I'd love to see new research. I'd love to think it's improved. I think we'd all want to know it's improved. But, just from a anecdotal and a heuristic point of view, we talk to lots of customers, obviously, in our sales motions, in our marketing motions, and also we do a lot of research. And this notion that customers are tech-bound and focused on the algorithm, focused on data mesh and all of that kind of stuff, and not enough business integration, that's still sustaining. We still see it. Like, I'll go into a data project and at the start of a project or at the start of our conversation with customers, I'll ask a simple question, and that is, what competitive advantage does this analytic do for your business, and how does it translate to money? And I'm going to tell you, 9 out of 10 times, it's a really slow answer and a difficult answer for the customer. So that's why we're trying to, change the game for the industry to say this is about business. It's about making money. It's about speed to market, and that plays into our hands because that's what Zetaris is about: speed of analytical development, right?
Yes, absolutely. And let's just go ahead and check in with the audience. We had a great question here from Dustin. He's asking, how should we think about balancing data quality with data virtualization at scale?
Yeah, so I think, so data quality is an absolute must-have if you're doing data virtualization.
Yeah.
Right? Data virtualization, for me, particularly, we differentiate between operational data virtualization and analytical data virtualization, right? Yeah. Both of which, so operational is where you're just linking a few points and you're provisioning some sort of front-end dashboard that is really simple. Analytical from Zetaris is all about doing deep data warehouse kind of queries, data lake kind of algorithms in a decentralized way. If you're going to do that and have the business users and the front end of your business trust the data, you have to have a data quality engine built into your platform. So at Zetaris, we could have gone to market without a data quality engine. We actually held ourselves back. We took 2 years in our R&D to build a business rules-based data quality engine. So we don't just do field level validation. We do deep rules-based, business rules-based and tacit rules-based data quality checking. And we do things like creating an exceptions management capability. So you're not only checking for bad data, like wrong data, you're checking for wrong joins and wrong understanding of data.
Right. I think we're going to have to rename the 5 forces to the Vinay Samuel 6 forces of competitive nature.
You got it. Oh, yeah. I don't think Michael Porter and his legacy would be happy with
his legacy won't like that. But brilliant talk. Thank you so much, Vinay. Thank you for making the time to be here. We really appreciate your support. I wish we could get to all the other questions, but unfortunately we have to keep this modern data fest moving at the same speed that you talked about in your presentation.
Well, reach out to me, folks. I'm on vinay.samuel@zetaris.com. It's pretty simple. Please email me or on LinkedIn. If you want to know more about that scoring system we have for working out how competitive you are, it's fairly simple to do, and we don't charge for that. It's like a half-day workshop. So please reach out.
Okay, great. Yeah, Vinay, if you send me the link, I'll put it in the chat and make